But Councillor Benjamin, what do the conversations around vote recounts stemming from Aru, you are going to Kalungu, you are going to Kisoro, that is Bufumbira, North and South, and so many other constituencies where it doesn't seem to be going down well with what the election results were or what the announcements were. What does this say about the integrity of the election we just went out of?
Well, I think the starting point is that elections generally should be an opportunity for citizens in the particular electoral area to give free consent. Free consent means they have not been bribed, they have not been forced, but they have chosen that their representative to parliament or to council or the person who will be their president is so and so. Now, when that process is interfered with to take away the freedom to choose, either through violence, through manipulation of processes, then you cannot say that the person who has been voted for or the person who has been returned as a member of parliament or councillor or president has been returned with the consent of the people. But that happens in democracies. Now, for a country that has veered off the democratic path, elections will be held to tick a box, to say, oh, we periodically have free and fair elections and leaders are chosen.
They become
But
rituals.
when in actual sense, exactly, that's the right word. So what we are witnessing, the mess in the recount, while applying for a recount and being granted one, if there is merit, is the right under the law. I think what, in my view, this discussion should focus on is the attempt to abuse such a right and the other processes to defeat the will of the people. And I think this business of recount should not be looked at in isolation of the wider context. The wider context being the entire electoral process, from development of the voter register to nominations to campaigns and elections. If you look at all these, you see that the process that led to the results that are now being challenged in these courts clearly fell short of meeting the standards set under our laws and globally that govern elections. And therefore you see that there is a deficit which keeps widening. And you saw during nominations that even some people were turned away, even when they had qualifications to be nominated. And even that, after that, you had people being denominated, some of them not being accorded the right to be heard. And so you realize that we are moving towards a direction where we are even likely to have in the future, if the trajectory does not change, that you find, like it was in Zaire under Mobutu, that you have only one candidate on the ballot paper, and the citizens are either choose him or choose nobody. You see that that's the direction we are taking.
Okay.
Because this business of recount, and people have been trying to criticize the judiciary, and rightly so, about how, for example, the recount in Masaka, the direction it has taken, even when you see clearly that the boxes have been tampered with, and the precedent and the law is that once you establish that these have been tampered with, you stop the process, but the magistrate goes ahead against the established principles and continues with the process. But I think it is even wrong for anybody to look at the judiciary in isolation of the other state institutions.
Definitely.
What we have been saying is that the institutions of state have been weaponized as instruments of doing politics by those that are powerful. So if you are contesting with a powerful person, he's going to use the police, he's going to use the army, he's going to use the electoral commission, while for you, you are just campaigning, he's going to use the courts to make sure that they gain advantage over you.
Well,
so when we reach that level,
yes,
then you cannot say that you're having elections, you're just having a ritual, as it is.
Very, very absurd where we are getting. Honorable Mbide, let's get to you. You definitely have participated in this election, not just this one, but several other elections. And right now is where we're seeing more and more requests for vote recounts coming through. What does this spell for the election that you also did particularly participate in? Is it a political maneuver, or is it an actual need to determine what the will of the people was?
I would use, for me, I would use this one as an indicator that we have a convoluted political system. It has almost, it is a collapsing political system. When you look at the Referendum and Other Provisions Act 2005, that was a departure from a system of politics where the individual is sacrosanct to a system of politics where political parties make the absolute decision on the direction of the country, where political parties would in effect even determine who must lead where. But at the same time, while entering into such a system, it is actually funny that we maintain that the individual is still sacrosanct. We find people campaigning individually, pinning posters of their own persons, and obviously recounts that are generally individual-based, interest-based in terms of an individual. Now that is not the political system that the population chose in a referendum.
Did we actually ever move away from individual merit?
We did not.
In as much as we went into multipartism?
We did not. So what was established was not a shift to multi-party political dispensation. We have got registered political parties, but they are not allowed to participate in the politics of the country, at least freely. But at the same time, we had a continuity. It was a continuation of the movement system of government. Now, what people think is a democracy, simply because we hold periodic elections, and as my brother has also been describing, is actually a dictablanda, where dicta obviously refers to a dictatorship, but blanda meaning soft. Now, it is extremely soft that those that are Lilliputians in terms of understanding will not detect the kind of authoritarian rule within a situation of this nature. They will not find it. It is not visible to the naked eye. They will maintain freedoms, but at the same time, they will not stifle freedoms, but they will curtail them. They will give you all the latitude to go on radio and TV stations and address, especially before elections. During elections, you will find yourselves quarantined within Kampala. So that now opinions that are contradictory to the system do not find themselves on the airwaves outside Kampala. So this is choreographed in such a way that it is not general knowledge for everybody. Now, this is what we need to do. I think we need now to go back.
What would be the mercenary behind the choreograph? Because like you clearly said, it seems like it's just individuals who are seeking their own victory to be declared.
The individuals, you see, in Uganda, power doesn't really belong to those with the formal office. It belongs to those without even formal appointment, the eminenzigris in politics. So they determine even the list of those that will go through, those that will not. So that is what exists, but in favor of the establishment. So in Uganda, what the president of Uganda sought to cure when he took office was the failure of governments to stay for quite some time. The multiplicity of government changes that to him sounded a recipe for disaster by establishing a government and choreographing a procedure for its long stay without necessarily giving democracy to the population. So that when the clamor for multi-parties started in 2002, because that is when now, of course, we had the meeting at Kananasiki of the Africa Action Plan, the peer review established under the NEPAD process. The pressure was too much that for you to access grants, loans, you had to free parties. So what the president did was to be Jeko. He said, let those ones go and do their own politics. But at the same time, we maintain our system as it is. In Uganda, what we need to do, I think let us reduce the presence of an individual in the politics of Uganda.
Entirely or even in political parties
in the politics of Uganda. So that we can adopt. There are processes we can adopt. For example, when you look at South Africa, it is not true that a member of parliament is voted for individually. They use what we call party list proportional representation. To the extent that, for example, NUP, with close to 2.7 million votes, of course, as produced, I must also create a precursor that in Uganda we have had an election. The failure of biometric voter verification is not being interpreted as it should be.